What defines necromancy is working with the dead. So any form of this practice, working with the dead, whether it's your ancestors or not, is necromancy, obviously. Those people, some people on denial that, no, this is not necromancy and blah, 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 bullshit. No, it's still necromancy. Done. Greetings, I'm Baron Aragni.
And I'm Baronessa Aragni.
Today, we're going to be discussing a very specific subject within necromancy, the truth about ancestral workings.
How this video came about is on our new Patreon page. We put it to a vote. Which video you will like to see from us next? And necromancy is a subject which won by a long shot.
Indeed, necromancy. We've made several videos in regards to the subject matter of necromancy. However, we haven't spoken about ancestral workings in greater detail yet. So in this video, we'll be discussing the truth of ancestral workings, the pros and cons to, well, the subject matter, and the best course of action to take when deciding to work with ancestors, and why you shouldn't.
That's basically going to be the theme. Rather, why you shouldn't.
But before we get into the subject matter in greater detail, we would like to thank all our Patreon members.
Indeed. As mentioned, it is a new channel, or it's a new Patreon page, or however you refer to that as. And we must say we have been rather surprised at how many people have actually shown a massive interest in that. And we want to say thank you to each and every one of you.
Thank you very much.
If you would also like to become Patreon members and maybe even see your names on our videos and get exclusive benefits that only Patreon members can get, such as exclusive rituals and many other fun little things, please visit our Patreon page, details below somewhere, and sign up. Please note that the benefits only apply to the paid membership options. Free membership, well, we appreciate the support nonetheless, but if you want any benefits or perks to being patrons of ours, have a look at the paid membership options.
Indeed, and here follows the little shout out logo to those who wanted to be mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, first things first. There's one very important misconception that we have to get out of the way immediately before we get into the rest of this video. When most people think about working with your ancestors, they think it is lighting a candle in their honor or lighting them some incense in their honor, and that's basically about it, with an altar by themselves, which is very popular amongst Eastern cultures and also ATR systems. However, that is not working with them.
No, there's a big difference between working with your ancestors and honoring them. The former, obviously, is honoring them.
Where you don't actually interact with your ancestors. No. You light them some incense, a candle, and you remember them.
It's also good for you to remember that what defines necromancy is working with the dead. So any form of this practice, working with the dead, whether it's your ancestors or not, is necromancy, obviously. Those people, some people on denial that, no, this is not necromancy and blah, 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 bullshit. No, it's still necromancy. Done.
Ancestors or not is irrelevant. They are dead, are they not?
They are dead, yes. So if you work with them, you'll be calling them forth through a ritual, etc. and so forth. And
to some purpose.
To some purpose or the other, and that is still necromancy, so yeah.
Nonetheless, so honoring them is different from working with them. What do we mean by working with your ancestors? We mean working with them as you would work with any other spirit. You call them forth, you ask them to do something for you or to advise you or to assist you like you would do with a working spirit or another entity or whoever you choose to work with. That is working with your ancestors. It is an actual two-way relationship. It's not just lighting a candle and then you're done.
No. And working with them and honoring them is two different things. So, but you can still work with them and honor them at the same time. Remember that. However, you can honor them separately, as we described, or you can work work with them. And that's what we do. We are hands-on people, and we always go the visual route of things. We don't just speculate on things and this and that and blah, blah, blah. We practice the occult arts. And that's what we're going to instruct you upon. The pros and cons of all these little tidbits.
In case you missed it, we are very much opposed to actually working with your ancestors. Why do we say this? It isn't because of some bad experiences we've had or some other bias or cultural differences or any such bullshit. No. It is because out of personal experience and out of experience as a whole with spirits and necromancy, your ancestral spirits, they're nice to honor if you want to go that route, to be respectful and so on and so forth. But as a whole, your ancestral spirits are the worst possible spirits that you could work with. Necromancy or in any paradigm whatsoever. And we are going to tell you why.
The key word here is, or sentence that you need to remember is that as they were living, so they shall be dead. So if the person was a cunt while they were living, so they shall be a cunt while they are dead. If they were an alcoholic, as an example, while living, they will be an alcoholic or an addict while dead.
If they were a religious zealot while living, they will be the same on the other side.
More than likely, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to get into the discussion of afterlife, heaven, hell, all that other shit. We have already written about it in plenty of our books, and we have even blogged about that. So we're not going to get into that right now. If you're interested in that, plenty of other resources from us on that.
By the way, guys, we have, if you do not know this, we have nothing but contempt for religion, but more so with people who adhere or practice religious beliefs in all forms and shapes. So, yeah.
So,
keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. We have written about it in so many places. We have written about it in our books. We have spoken about it in our videos. We have written about it in our blogs, or in our blog posts, at least. That as they were living, so they will be dead. Many people, for some reason, still do not fully understand this concept. However, if you don't want to believe us on that, you are more than welcome to interact with them yourself and see for yourself, okay?
Guys, throughout the years, we had several clients which had problems with ancestral spirits. Let's just say it caused havoc in their lives, and we had to remove them from those individuals. So keep in mind that just because it's an ancestor, you won't be the get-along gang with it. You won't get along with it necessarily. Because in most instances, there could be religious factors involved as well. As an example, being a practitioner is a big no-no with most monotheistic belief systems. So if your ancestor adhered to a monotheistic belief system, then they will more than likely condemn you for what you practice.
Let's be honest here. With both of us sitting here right now, we can literally count back to, let's just say, 10 generations past, to our ancestors, 10 generations past, okay? If we had to call upon any single one of all of them, they were religious people. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
And what are we? We are practitioners, okay? So just imagine that absolute bullshit that will come from that. They will not give a shit whether you actually calling them forth right now is actually proof of their religious system being bullshit. No, that's not what they're going to see. They are going to see you, their great-great-great-grandchild or whatever, and they will see a witch. Put two and two together. Okay?
What happens? Burn the witch.
Yeah. That has happened before, not with us, because honestly, we do not want to work with our ancestors. We have scouted them out before and just know, but from clients' experiences,
Yeah,
that is one side of the things that tend to happen. They get severely pissed off because no, you are being a heathen or
blah, 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 blah,
blah,
blah.
blah, blah. And then they decide they're going to seek divine retribution upon you.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, and basically they will be attacking you.
And they'll become a curse unto you and your life and your loved ones and so on. Let's just set aside the religious part and focus on their personality-wise, the personality of your ancestors, so to speak. In most cases, you will not know those ancestors you wish to work with. And that can be problematic because you do not know what type of person that individual was. You see the conundrum there. That person could have been a psychopath or a sadist or
an asshole.
No, just plain and simple an asshole, for all you know. And to invite that into your life is a big no. You don't want that. But on the other hand, on the flip side of that coin, if you did know your ancestor and you know your ancestor was a good person, well, a person to your liking, so to speak, and you got along with the person very well, then it will be a good idea for you to do that.
Then you may look into it. Yeah. And that brings us to our second point about working with your ancestors. And this applies to any spirit whatsoever, okay? Just because they are dead does not mean that all of a sudden obtain some mystical, magical powers and they are omnipresent and omniscient and omnipotent. No. Dead people are dead. As they were living, so they shall be dead. Okay? Just remember those two things, which we just said. Many people, when someone who they knew and, say, loved, passed away, they all of a sudden think that this person is deified.
Yeah.
Like now they know everything and they can help with everything. They're so wise and
Well, the people have actually deified the deceased in cases as well.
Yeah.
I've seen throughout history. There's many examples from various religions across the world that people actually deify the dead.
And you know what? Whatever. If people want to do that, that's their business, okay? But heed our words. They don't all of a sudden become extra super special now that they are dead.
Yeah, exactly.
They are who they have always been, except now they're just not physical anymore.
Yeah. In regards to an ancestor being a practitioner, well, that's a whole new, different story altogether.
And we're not talking about, no, this great aunt of yours has been rumored to practice.
No, not a kitchen witch or someone who reads tea leaves, an actual practitioner.
Yeah, an actual practitioner.
Yeah, the real deal.
They are a different story generally because, let's backtrack a bit. The average human spirit, which basically accounts for the vast majority of all of them out there. Mm-hmm. They are not special. They do not know how to do some of the most basic things that you would be looking for in a working spirit. Okay?
Yeah. And it's going to take a lot of time for them to learn that.
Yeah.
Nonetheless.
They can, of course, learn it.
Yeah, but it's going to take a long time.
And that's not worth your time or effort. If the person was a practitioner while living, however, then, well, they already know all those things. Then, almost by default, they will already be able to do a lot of the things which you would be looking for in a working spirit, if not more than what you are looking for.
Exactly.
But
practitioners who are deceased are some of the most powerful spirits you will ever come across, and also the most dangerous spirits you will come across.
We're not talking about non-human spirits right now, because in fact, the spirits of practitioners also by default
are no longer human. Yeah.
When their bodies die. So they go from when everyone else is like the gray matter, they're like somewhere here. Practitioners go, oh,
yeah, right on top.
Right on top. Okay, maybe not right on top,
but close
but
enough.
Pretty close. Okay. So with that being said, useful, yes, very, very, very handy, but
dangerous, extremely.
So maybe not the best idea.
Unless it's one of your ancestors, as an example, that was a practitioner, actual practitioner, and you got along super well with the person
while they were living,
which you actually knew personally, and you had a good relationship with the person, and then sure, go ahead. But that doesn't necessarily indicate that the person will be willing to help you, or want to help you, or want to work with you in the first place.
That's very important to keep in mind as well.
Because remember, they are individuals as well. Even though their bodies are deceased, they are still individuals with their own minds, wants and needs, etc. and so forth, and their reasoning and so on.
Take a moment, okay? Think about your direct ancestors. Think about your grandparents if they are deceased. Think about your great-grandparents, as far back as you actually know about them, okay? Now ask yourself, if you had to call forth any of them, choose one, would they be fine with it?
Yeah, exactly, because you remember, on the other side as well, you're going to draw them forth, or draw them from where they are into your reality, okay? So they might be pissed off that you disturbed them from where they were to where they are now. So keep that in mind as well.
With everything that we have mentioned up until now, that they may not even want to be called, that they may not be worth your time, and so many other factors right now. If you take all of that, that is literally working with ancestor spirits. But there's one thing we didn't mention. Sometimes they will agree to work with you, even if it's just to advise you. And sure, they don't need any specific skills or knowledge or whatever to be able to advise you on something. They can advise you on mundane matters, as an example. Sure. But here's the thing about ancestral spirits that no one will ever tell you, okay? They love to meddle.
Yeah, that's true. They do. We've mentioned that some of our clients have problems with ancestral spirits, which was causing havoc in their lives. And a case like that, we found that an ancestral spirit was also meddling in the person's personal life, romance and financial side of things. And obviously, that's a big no. So
that happened on more than one occasion. That is the second half of all the cases where ancestral spirits are involved.
So we try to take the nice angle with the spirit and telling it, okay, stop meddling in this person's life. We were nice about it at first, because in most cases we are fair, we do that. Said, stop your shit, okay? Because this person has their own life. They don't agree with what you're doing, and they want to run their own life. They don't want you anywhere near them. So leave now peacefully. And obviously the thing didn't leave, so we had to remove it forcefully from the person's life, and permanently, mind you. So yeah.
So imagine that you start working with your ancestors and everything goes fine, and then you have a new love interest in your life. But then they decide, hey, we don't like this person. Then they will do everything in their fucking power to ruin that for you.
Yeah.
Ancestral spirits are extremely manipulative, and they throw fits like you would not believe.
Yeah, they are just cunts. We don't like them.
No, we don't. We just don't. Because, you see, they think that because they're your ancestors, they actually get to have a say in how you live your life, to control you, to mold and shape you how they want you to be. But remember what we just said? Just because they're dead doesn't all of a sudden make them special or deities or whatever. No. Okay, so that means it's normal people that is trying to control your life and how you live your life.
Exactly. Don't let these motherfuckers monopolize your life. Your life is your own. You know, you're in charge of it. Nothing and no one else.
You know, they say that, or there's a saying that goes, you can't choose your family. And we suppose to some degree that is true. But this is where it gets actually very nice. when you're a practitioner, you actually get to choose your family. In other words, you get to choose who and what you associate with.
Yeah.
So everyone and everything has ancestors. But just because they're there doesn't mean you owe them a thing, and it doesn't mean you actually have to work with them, okay?
And remember, you fuckers, family is not necessarily blood. You decide also who your family is.
So, with all of that once again being said, would you rather go through all the effort and hassle and bullshit of maybe getting one of your ancestors that's worth your time, okay? Or would you rather just get a working spirit who's not actually related to you, but who can do what you want it to do, who's not going to try to run your life, who's not going to fuck you around or anything like that?
Yeah.
I mean, really, is there even a choice?
But at the end of the day, you know, guys, we showed you the pros and cons of ancestral working, so it's your choice. However, what we teach all the novices and even adepts, because we're never too old or too experienced to learn something in this world, or in any world for that matter, what we teach them is, especially with necromancy, you want to have an agent of death on your side to watch your back, to guide you throughout your necromantic practices, including if you decide to work with ancestors. Yeah. So they'll be there safeguarding you even when you work with ancestors or with any other spirit for that matter. And if your ancestral spirit starts acting up or blah 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 whatever, then the agent of death will kick it under the ass and it will remove it from your life.
Also, and this is especially important for novices, especially important, if you choose to work with your ancestors, okay, any one of them, when you call upon them, that does not exactly mean that by default your actual ancestor who you are looking to call upon is actually going to be the spirit to show up.
Yeah, it could be some insidious motherfucker showing up, and
which happens more often than not.
Exactly, and that's why we warn many people that necromancy is extremely dangerous. But it's such a fulfilling and a great practice. So you must be experienced to even delve into necromancy. We always advise people to look into the practice of ceremonial high magic, because it's got all the basics of evocation and so on, and ritual structure, which is very important for you to learn. And aside from that, as we mentioned, the agent of death, that is also very important to look into, so you can safeguard yourself. You must learn to be wise before you just jump into something.
Let's say that you do not... Chloe, ladies and gentlemen, one of our mini cats.
Yeah, center stage as always.
So we're just totally going to carry on right now. Even if you do not want to work with entities, or you don't want to rely on them or anything, that's fine. That's fine. But if you want to pursue necromancy, especially necromancy, as we mentioned, we highly suggest you look into getting one for you, even if it's just so that you can build up enough experience and thus your own spiritual power, so that you no longer need to work with one. That's fine. Or you start working with one just until that point, but then you actually found that you like to work with them, then you keep them on, whatever. But when you start off, it's better to have one than to not have one.
Most definitely, especially if you're inexperienced and just, dipping your toes into the deep black currents of necromancy. And then it would be wise, very wise, irrelevant of your experience. If you have never practiced necromancy before, be prepared and prepare well.
If there's anything we forgot to mention or left out or anything like that, we will probably make another video on this subject sometime, or write on it or something. But we believe that we have basically covered why it is actually a bad idea to work with your ancestors.
And why it could be a good idea to work with them as well. But nonetheless, guys, always remember that belief is not the truth and truth is not belief. And more often than not, the truth discredits belief and even your retarded fanatical beliefs.
So, work with them, don't work with them.
And honestly, we don't give a fuck. We just don't care.
Do whatever you want. But if you do decide to work with them, do it properly or not at all.
Yeah.
And then you can't say you weren't warned.
Yeah. That's the whole point of these videos, so we can educate you on the subject matter. So you know a bit more, and then you can decide for yourself what you want to do, what you don't want to do, what you like, what you dislike, etc. and so forth. And remember, as Baronessa said, we speak from experience. We don't pull the shit out of our asses. Now, this is knowledge gained from practically applying everything magical and occult. So yeah, I believe that concludes this video.
Yeah, believe it does. So once again, a massive thank you to all of our Patreon members.
And also our subscribers on YouTube and everywhere else.
Yes, thank you everyone for your support, your continuous support, and showing some love.
Yes, thank you very much. And we would really, really like you to like and subscribe this video.
If you are
or to
not,
this channel.
if you're not yet.
Yeah, please do. You will help us to build our channel and to reach more people.
You know, algorithms.
Yeah, it's a bitch, truly. But thank you nonetheless.
And always remember, as above, so below.
As within, so without.